Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
We got famous names. Our job is to entertain, but we still complain. We always complain about political campaigns. Tweet what's in our brain, but we don't know what we're saying. Don't know what we're saying. Celebs are tweeting, political preaching, so that's why you're screaming. Please shut up, famous people are not too bright. No, you don't care what we say. Say. Our opinions are so lame. Lame. Get back on our private plane. Plane. And shut it up. Stop talking out our face. No government debates. Close our mouth for heaven's sake. And shut it up.
Good morning, Lacrosse. Welcome to a Tuesday of Lacrosse Talk. I am Rick Solem. Coming up at the show, let's see, what am I doing? I'm having Jill Billings come in studio. I believe she's coming in studio. I guess we haven't really confirmed that, but I feel like she would have told me if she wasn't going to do that. Jill Billings is the state rep in District 95, which includes the city of Lacrosse. And since the district's changed now, it includes one of the outlying counties as well, but I can't remember which one because I can't remember which county is which direction. But we're during the conversation, I believe we're going to talk about Evers' budget quite a bit. Maybe even the Lacrosse mayor's race and what a state rep thinks of what's going on locally here in terms of spring elections. Supreme Court race is also on the ballot. We get her opinion on that as well. And some of the bills that maybe she's working on as they're in session now. They're only in session, a couple months before they take the rest of next year off. So we better get all the work done now. One of the funny things I want to bring up with her is that cursive is a thing that Republicans are proposing now, that mandatory cursive in schools. Does anyone believe that we should be doing that? When's the last time you wrote in cursive? Besides signing your name, right? Do you sign your name in cursive? Do you just kind of scribble it? I scribble it. What is it? What is the opposite of cursive? I can't even think. But that's how I'm writing. I just kind of scribble it down, not in cursive, because cursive is crazy. You can't read cursive. When Mike Hayes would write me notes, when I'd come and sub for him in the morning, he'd write me notes, or he'd have guests on his calendar. And Mike Hayes is a left-hander, so this makes it even worse. And not that he was writing cursive, but he was also scribbling, and I could not read his writing. I would take pictures of it and send it to Scott Shaw and be like, what does this say? Because Scott could read Mike's writing after those guys worked together for 35 years. I guess you get used to somebody's terrible writing or squiggly writing. Or I would just ask Mike, like, or I'd send him the picture if Scott couldn't read it or Scott wasn't available. Be like, Mike, what does this say? Who is this person? Also, the show, I want to play a clip from Friday's conversation with UW Lacrosse political science professor Dr. Anthony Chergosky about the mayor's race as well. I kind of teased this yesterday, but it's a pretty interesting conversation just in terms of the mayor's race. We talk about school board a little bit and city administrators, kind of the bulk of the conversation, and just what maybe our expectations as voters, not that I'm voting, but you're voting, as voters should be when it comes to the mayor's stance on something so big as having a city administrator. It's not just the price tag of the city administrator, it's what that person would mean to Lacrosse and the power struggle that might happen between a city administrator and a mayor, a city administrator and a city council. Also coming up, not today, but just in the next, month and a half, because the election begins 2 weeks before April 1st, whatever date that is, early voting starts. But I guess not even a month and a half. It's February 25th. Holy cow. But going to start rolling through some of these city council candidates. Chris Woodard texted me last night, and he's going to come on. And we'll see how many we can get through. I guess, the conversation will be different with all of them in terms of what being on city council means to them and what they kind of see or foresee for the city over their next possible 4-year term. But just a conversation that I want to have. And I think they will be different, even though we're talking about kind of the same things, right? It could get exhausting or repetitive, but I don't think it will. I mean, we did this with District 7 in the primary, and I thought all 3 conversations were really good. John Ryman, who didn't make the cut in the primary, had some really good, interesting takes on his vision of, his district, the Kmart district, and the city of La Crosse. And then Matt Keel and Gary Podesky had their own takes. So it was pretty interesting, and I think it'll be worth it. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
You want NASCAR Cup Series action?
The green flag goes in the air. The 66th renewal of the Great American Race is underway.
You've got it from the Motor Racing Network, right here on your hometown station for the NASCAR Cup Series. You won't miss a second of the Motor Racing Network's lap-by-lap coverage, split-second pit stops, and side-by-side play-by-play action. We are your home for the voice of NASCAR, the Motor Racing Network.
The Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix this Sunday at 2:30, brought to you by Don's Towing and Auto Repair and Advanced Care Heating and air conditioning.
Life is a journey marked by milestones that shape who we are. Whether it's setting your children up for success or preparing for a fruitful retirement, the route is different for each of us, but the destination is the same. Financial security, peace of mind, and the freedom to enjoy life's most important moments. Whatever you need to reach your goals, from investing to personalized financial planning, your local team at Emerge 360 will guide you every step of the way. Emerge 360, helping you plan for what's next.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin was back on the floor for practice yesterday, prepping for a visit from Washington tonight. Last time we saw the Badgers, they were blowing a double-digit lead to Oregon in the final minutes on Saturday. It snapped a 5-game winning streak and left Wisconsin needing some help to claim even a share of the Big Ten title. Coach Greg Gard reflected on the game yesterday when he met with the media, and the theme, all about moving past what happened, but not forgetting why.
I think you got to take it for what it's worth. You can't choke on it, right? And you can't just not pay attention to it, right? We have to learn from it and understand how important being aggressive is for us. We're really good when we're aggressive, and for whatever reason, we didn't keep the throttle down like we should have.
Wisconsin comes into the game at 21-6 on the year, 11-5 in Big Ten play. The Huskies sitting in last place, but have won 2 of their last 4 games. And given the teams that they lost to in that stretch, all they could handle. Tip tonight is at 8. Turning to the Bucks, they're in Houston. It's where they're going to face the Rockets tonight. Milwaukee's won 4 in a row. Rockets have lost 7 of the last 10. Tip is at 7.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You're grateful for all the ways technology can connect us. Unfortunately, there are online scammers who want to take advantage. Malicious viruses, phishing scams, and identity theft are more prevalent than ever. That's why Rural Mutual includes cybersecurity protection as an option on every policy.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers going to be back at it this afternoon out in Arizona as they face the Guardians in Cactus League action. Milwaukee was a 12-8 loser to the Mariners yesterday. And the NFL Combine getting going in Indianapolis this week. 3 former Badgers, including safety Hunter Wohler, are there. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
All right, welcome back to the Crosstalk. We're just days away from have you heard about this? The economic blackout, where everyone's just not supposed to spend money, and that's going to happen on Friday. Especially, and if you have an emergency, of course, need some Band-Aids or something like that. I don't know why Band-Aids would be the emergency, but you know what I mean. Then, of course, go ahead and do that. But in terms of just going to the big box stores, any store really, but I saw some local businesses post about this because local businesses are local, right? Should we not spend money on the economic black? I mean, we could hold out for one day, right? Like, could you just hold out? But also local businesses really kind of depend on people to shop every day, probably just to keep the lights on. I don't think they're raking it in. So I saw this from Pearl Street Books. I posted on their Facebook page about a couple of days ago. As you may know, there will be an economic blackout on Friday. People are being urged not to buy anything on this day, especially from corporations. I've debated whether or not to close the store in support of this call to action. So instead of even just having the option to shop and to not shop, right? Just shut the store down. But Beth continues here. I decided to remain open because I believe that our bookstore, like libraries, is an essential part of the community for resourcing information, sharing ideas, and building relationships. As such, we will be open. However, we will be operating on a cash-only basis for the day. We will also have a cart of free books available. If you do not have cash, we can hold your books for a later purchase. So they're going to stay open just essentially if you want to hang out and if you want to go to the bookstore. If you got to buy a book, pay cash. If you don't have cash, you can pay for it later. They're just going to hold the book. Come back tomorrow, and we'll let you buy the book then if you got to, use a credit card or something like that. So I think it's a pretty interesting idea. I kind of wonder what the impact would be if nobody shopped on a day. It'd be kind of crazy. I should have an economist on it to dissect that, but I don't. It's maybe too big of an idea to even wrap my head around at this moment in time and at 6:30 in the morning. But I thought it was pretty interesting. Another thing that I saw that was on a completely different level, and I looked this guy up because when I read this the first time, I thought it said Brewers, and the year is the 1800s and the early to 1910, so 1897 to 1910. And I guess this guy didn't play for the Brewers, so maybe I just misread it. But this guy named Rube Waddell, he was a pitcher, like I said, began his career as a 20-year-old in 1897. It was just a kind of a funny Instagram page post about Rube Waddell from the Instagram page, My Favorite Baseball Stuff. So this stuff, I don't necessarily follow a ton of baseball things on Instagram, but the timeline just every once in a while shows you stuff, and sometimes they're gems. All right, so I'm going to tell you about Rube Waddell according to this Instagram post, and it's pretty funny. First of all, it's a black and white picture because it's 1897 of him just in Chicago. Rube Waddell might be the most interesting baseball player that ever lived. Born on Friday the 13th, 1876. Died on April Fool's Day, 1914. He disappeared for months at a time during the off-season until it was discovered he was wrestling alligators in the circus. Rube Waddell, people. Rube Waddell once left in the middle of a game to go fishing. So, professional baseball player leaves in the middle of a game to go fishing. He also had a fascination with fire trucks and ran off the field to chase after them during games on multiple locations. Could you imagine any of this happening now? On August 19th, 1900, he pitched the first game. Oh, here we go. He pitched the first game of a doubleheader for Milwaukee. So I guess he did play for Milwaukee, although his baseball reference doesn't say Milwaukee, but I could just be reading it wrong. So he pitched the first game of a doubleheader for Milwaukee, winning the 17th inning on his own triple. So he also hit, right? His manager offered him a 3-day fishing vacation if he'd pitched the second game. What'd he do? He threw a complete game shutout and headed to Pewaukee Lake. Rube Waddell began the 1903 season sleeping in a firehouse in Camden, New Jersey, and ended it tending bar in a saloon in Wheeling, West Virginia, because these guys didn't make any money. Rube Waddell once saved a woman from drowning, accidentally shot a friend through the hand, and was bitten by a lion. So just random facts. I don't think those all happened on the same day. Rube Waddell famously saved the lives of people inside a department store when he picked up a burning oil stove that had overturned and carried it out of the building before it could start a fire. Through it all, he was one of the best pitchers in the game. He died of tuberculosis at the age of 37, was inducted to the MLB Hall of Fame in 1946. So I thought that was really funny. My favorite baseball stuff on Instagram about Rube Waddell. And I swear he did not play for the Brewers. I could just... There's acronyms for all these teams. So there's Lou for Louisville, Pitt for Pittsburgh. The Cubs are on here. And then PHA. I don't know what PHA is, and I don't know what SLB is. He played in the AL and the NL. So PHA is the Philadelphia Athletic Statistics in 1902. And SLA is the St. Louis Browns. Oh, statistics is part of that baseball reference. So St. Louis Browns, Philadelphia Athletics, but he's not on here as a Brewer. So I feel like some of that information is a little off because he couldn't have played for Milwaukee if he didn't play for Milwaukee. Anyway, kind of a funny story about Rube Waddell. If only one of those things had happened to a baseballer these days, it would be a story for at least 24 hours. Wouldn't last very long. Sticking to baseball, Bob Uecker, obviously, we all know he passed away, right? And they've come up with these patches that the Brewers are going to wear for the season. But if you want one of these patches, I believe you can get one now. They're for sale. All the proceeds will benefit Uecker's favorite charities. They include Bob's signature on a baseball circle by a ring of plaid and a nod to the sport coats that he wore. And they're available at the Brewers team store in both Milwaukee and Phoenix. So I guess you got to go. I don't know if you can, and they're $12. So if you want one of these Bob Uecker patches, all the proceeds go into charity. And yeah, so I didn't look online to see if you could order them. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, but they look pretty cool. Got his autograph in the middle, little plaid on the outside and a baseball on the inside. Go check those out if you want one of the Bob Uecker patches. Okay, one other thing. What other thing did I have here? And coming up on the show, the next hour, and for that 7 o'clock hour, Jill Billings, State Assembly rep's going to join me, I believe, in studio. We'll talk about Ever's budget, talk about some of her priorities, talk about the word mother or the missing word mother in the budget, because apparently this is a right-wing thing that all Republicans, because they're on the same... I believe they have the same text thread, so they all get outraged about all the same things. Inseminated person. That's in Ever's budget. The words inseminated person, and Republicans are mad because it doesn't say mother in there, and apparently that's something we need to be outraged about. If you ever want to like get a glimpse of, if you ever want to just take in politics in a different way. Take in politics or what politicians post. Take in how they, not how they're phrasing things, but just what they're talking about. Because is it something positive and something that's going to do something for you in terms of this is what I'm working on. These are the things I'm doing. These are the things I think will help everyday working class people. Is it stuff like that? what they're doing in Congress, what they're doing in the state legislature, what they're doing as governor, what they're doing as president, anything like that. Is it that, or are they just outraged by what somebody else is doing or what they're not doing, right? Is it just an outrage machine? Because that's what it's become. And I know that's no secret to anybody, but if you just kind of like think while you're doom scrolling, right? Because that's why we call it doom scrolling. Just any politicians that pop up in your timeline, just kind of like think about that when you're looking at stuff. Because Scott Walker's page popped up, and he posted about the Evers budget proposal that mentions inseminated person. And it was him trying to be funny a little bit, but also just like outraged by something that doesn't seem all that consequential, and probably legality wise is why he did what he did. All right, we're going to take a break. Kevin Millard is doing As I See It this in a couple minutes here, and it's a pretty interesting one. If you want to read it, it's at wizardnews.com. Go under the blogs, As I See It. But it's a pretty interesting one about Elon's Doge email that he sent to, I guess, all federal workers to just kind of, hey, what did you do in the past week? We need a checklist of all the things you accomplished. So stay tuned for that in just a minute.
With over 50 vendors, Wedding World is the best destination for wedding inspiration. Experience Wedscapes and visit with photographers, florists, bakers, planners, boutiques, and more to find everything you need to bring your dream day to life. Join Midwest Family, Charlotte's Bridal, and Wed Plan this Sunday at La Crosse Center's Riverside Ballroom and Terrace. General admission is free. Reserve your time slot and get your free tickets now at weddingworldlacrosse.com, and we'll see you Sunday to celebrate you at Wedding World.
At Sealand's Carpetland, your family comes first. We're more than just a flooring store. We're your partners in creating a home that lasts a lifetime. Discover a world of comfort and durability with our huge selection. Whether it's cozy carpeting for your living room, timeless hardwood for a classic touch, or versatile tiles that stand up to the hustle and bustle of family life. Sealand's Carpetland in Coon Valley. Our number one priority is you. Stop in today.
As I see it, over the past weekend, federal employees got an email that told them to reply with 5 things they accomplished at work last week. If they didn't reply, Elon Musk said it would be taken as a sign of resignation from their job. The email generated a lot of buzz both for and against it. Pushback is happening on both sides, too, with more lawsuits bound to follow. My take is this. Isn't this done in one form or another already? If this is allowed to go through, who's going to read these millions of replies? Do we really need another government organization created to check that each person responded accurately? And who would monitor the new organization to make sure that they're doing their jobs? Isn't this the type of bureaucratic boondoggle that the current administration is being so vocal about getting rid of? While finding waste in government is something we should all be concerned about, having people spend part of their time writing what is essentially a pointless email won't solve the problem. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to finish my TPS report to the boss. As I see it, I'm Kevin Millard.
La Crosse's source for news and information. Wisdom is WIZM. La Crosse, News Talk 1410 AM, 92.3 FM.
CBS News Brief. New directions for federal workers who received orders from Elon Musk to list 5 things they did last week or lose their jobs. The original deadline last night. CBS's Kristen Brown.
Now they're seemingly being told that they should have responded or that they may have to send a second email.
The U.S. remained neutral on a UN resolution on the war in Ukraine and voted against 3 others, blaming Russia for starting it. President Trump.
And I've spoken with both President Putin and President Zelensky. And again, a lot of good things toward peace are happening, moving it, I think, pretty quickly.
Doctors report slight improvement for Pope Francis, who's still in critical condition with double pneumonia. CBS's Dr. John LaPook.
With each episode, it's like a fighter who takes another punch and another punch and another punch. And after a while, it's hard to keep getting up from the mat.
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
At Benedictine Living Community La Crosse, we can be a resource for you. We'll guide you every step of the way. I love working at Benedictine Living Community because it's all about you and what you specifically need. And the people you love can feel good and have a peace of mind knowing you're well cared for.
Schedule a tour at blclacrosse.org.
My name is Lori. I'd love it if you come see me at Benedictine Living Community La Crosse.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around the store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches at my feet stopped hurting. And the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. There is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit us at 40 Copeland Avenue in La Crosse, at 2909 Mall Drive in Eau Claire, and at goodfeet.com.
WISMnews.com, I'm Brad Williams. 2 people are dead in an apparent gas leak at a home near Oakdale in Monroe County. The sheriff's office said a caller reported possible multiple deaths and the leak at a home on Hobby Road. The caller said they had gone to the home because they hadn't heard from the residents. They found an unresponsive juvenile female and pulled her from the home. Life-saving efforts weren't successful. Once emergency crews turned the gas off, the bodies of a man, a dog, and cat were found in the home. No charges have been filed yet in Trempealeau County Court against an Illinois man arrested after a weekend crash. Darnell Davis of South Elgin, Illinois, allegedly crashed into a parked truck after being pursued by a sheriff's deputy in Osseo on Friday night. Davis had been seen speeding on I-94 before he left the interstate and drove into Osseo. A firearm was found in Davis's vehicle after the accident. An Onalaska man is in custody after an incident on Sunday morning where police said he fired a handgun in an apartment building parking lot. A 911 caller said they could hear gunfire and that a person in the parking lot was acting erratically. Officers arrested Kevin McDowell. They found out that he had fired 3 rounds from a handgun. No one was hurt from the gunfire. A 19-year-old man is charged with second-degree sexual assault after an alleged incident at a UWL residence hall. Logan Zanowitz has been accused of having intercourse with a young woman while she was under the influence and could not give consent. Police say Zanowitz and the woman had been at a bar with friends and then went to a house party before returning to campus. The alleged victim of the assault says she thinks she may have been drugged and was unable to fight back. Zanowitz was given a signature bond and is scheduled to return to court next week. There is hope among La Crosse city leaders that the recent vote to suspend a tavern license will be an example to businesses in the city. By a unanimous vote last week, the city council took away the license of the Latino bar on 5th Avenue, following numerous complaints of underage drinking and police calls to the business. Councilmember Aaron Goggin made the motion to revoke the bar's license.
We do need to look at the culture, the drinking culture in La Crosse, and we need to work as several different bodies to try to fix that reputation.
La Crosse police claim the Latino bar did not help reduce the number of underage customers, but the business owners have disputed that. La Crosse's Park and Rec Department is asking people to be careful using the many trails around the city due to the weather. Sammy Meyer, the outdoor recreation director, said that as temperatures warm up during the day, then drop below freezing at night, it can cause damage to the trails and also causes erosion issues. She suggests that if you're on an unpaved trail and you're leaving footprints or tire tracks, you should avoid the trail. Instead, Meyer said stay on sidewalks or paved trails until the ground firms up again. For WISM News, I'm Brad Williams.
On air and online, WISM News and WISMnews.com. Always there, always free. Read as many stories as you want, whenever you want.
Habitat for Humanity Repair provides skilled, licensed, and insured contractors regardless of household income. Repair focuses on accessibility upgrades, code violations, emergency repairs, and handy person projects. For more information, visit habitatlacrosse.org/repair.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Talk. Good morning, Lacrosse. I'm Rick Solem. Coming up on the show, Jill Billings next hour. She's the State Assembly rep in District 95, which includes the city of Lacrosse and some outlying. Is it Monroe County? I can't think of the county. We'll ask her when she comes in. Before that, though, UW Lacrosse political science professor Dr. Anthony Intrigoski and I talked about the mayor's race on Friday quite a bit. Around that conversation, we also talked about cheese curds. We're starting a cheese curd war between Quick Trip and Culver's. And I understand that those places don't have the best cheese curds in the nation, but I'm talking about like businesses that made it in Wisconsin that have kind of gone, bigger than just, super local. But it was a fun part of the conversation on Friday, but the more serious and interesting part, maybe not as interesting as cheese curds, but interesting if you're a City of Lacrosse voter wondering who you're going to vote for mayor. It was pretty interesting in terms of just who to vote for as city administrator on the ballot and some of the stuff surrounding that race that's going to be on the April 1st ballot, or the spring ballot, I should say. The voting date final is April 1st, April Fool's Day. Kind of funny. I would love to be the mayor that gets elected on April Fool's Day. That would be super great. All right. That's going to come up here in just a couple of minutes, and Jill Billing next hour. We'll be back.
Let's do this. Let's go to Nashville. I'm Jean Taylor, and we're headed to Nashville. This trip is totally turnkey. No work at all for you, just fun. And lots of it. We head out on April 9th, returning on April 13th, and in between all the things Nashville. The Grand Ole Opry is celebrating its 100th year, so a great concert with great seats. General Jackson Showboat Cruise, including food and entertainment. A tour of all of Nashville's major sites, okay? Music Row, recording studios. We'll do some line dancing, the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Walk of Fame, and more. Plus, you'll get to experience downtown Nashville. Listen to bands, do some shopping. Trip includes all your tickets for all the entertainment, round-trip transportation, hotels, 8 meals, and of course the fun. I'm taking my girls. Grab your friends, family, and join us. Find out more at wiscotrips.com. We're going to Nashville. Spring break in the Music City. Now, doesn't that sound nice? Let's make some memories. Find out more, including full daily itineraries, at wiscotrips.com.
You have an event and tickets to sell. Now you've got to set up the ticketing. When you ticket your event through AroundRiverCity.com, you don't pay any fees. When you charge $20 a ticket, you make $20 a ticket. And as soon as it's uploaded, your event is live on your site and live on AroundRiverCity.com, the premier event calendar in Lacrosse. 100% free for event creators with complimentary event promotion. Ticket and promote your event free and easy at AroundRiverCity.com.
Hurry into Menards and save big money on your bathroom refresh. Max has a great selection of showers, tubs, and surrounds. Max's U-Towel shower kits combine luxury with practicality. They have a sleek design and make installation simple. Save big money on Max showers. And don't forget to check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin was back on the floor for practice yesterday, prepping for a visit from Washington tonight. Last time we saw the Badgers, they were blowing a double-digit lead to Oregon in the final minutes on Saturday. It snapped a 5-game winning streak and left Wisconsin needing some help to claim even a share of the Big Ten title. Coach Greg Gard reflected on the game yesterday when he met with the media, and the theme, all about moving past what happened, but not forgetting why.
I think you got to take it for what it's worth. You can't choke on it, right? And you can't just not pay attention to it, right? We have to learn from it and understand how important being aggressive is for us. We're really good when we're aggressive, and for whatever reason, we didn't keep the throttle down like we should have.
Wisconsin comes into the game at 21-6 on the year, 11-5 in Big Ten play. The Huskies sitting in last place, but have won 2 of their last 4 games. And given the teams that they lost to in that stretch, all they could handle. Tip tonight is at 8. Turning to the Bucks, they're in Houston. It's where they're going to face the Rockets tonight. Milwaukee's won 4 in a row. Rockets have lost 7 of the last 10. Tip is at 7.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You're grateful for all the ways technology can connect us. Unfortunately, there are online scammers who want to take advantage. Malicious viruses, phishing scams, and identity theft are more prevalent than ever. That's why Rural Mutual includes cybersecurity protection as an option on every policy.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers going to be back at it this afternoon out in Arizona as they face the Guardians in Cactus League action. Milwaukee was a 12-8 loser to the Mariners yesterday. And the NFL Combine getting going in Indianapolis this week. 3 former Badgers, including safety Hunter Wohler, are there. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Ready to take the plunge? Join us for the Special Olympics Wisconsin Polar Plunge in lacrosse on March 1st at Black River Beach. Brave souls will dive into the icy waters to support local athletes. It's more than just a chilly challenge, it's an opportunity to make a huge impact. Sign up to take the plunge or donate to support Special Olympics Wisconsin. For more info and to register, visit plungewi.org or head to specialolympicswisconsin.org. Don't miss the fun and the freezing splash of a lifetime. We'll see you at the Polar Plunge.
La Crosse's official forecast.
Mainly sunny skies today with highs around 47. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance for isolated showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 35. Overcast. Slight chance for isolated rain showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 45. Cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday. Low 50s Friday. Currently, it's 30 degrees.
All right, welcome back to Lacrosse Talk. I'm Rick Solem. Coming up here, I'm going to play a clip from Lacrosse Talk PM with myself and UW Lacrosse Political Science Professor Dr. Anthony Jagoski. We start out this conversation kind of going over the Lacrosse School Board results for just a minute, and then we really get into the lacrosse mayor's race and whether or not city administrator is one of those issues that's kind of a single ballot issue. Is the mayor's race on the ballot? Is it city administrator on the ballot as well? Here's part of that conversation. We had a primary on Tuesday. The school board race went kind of as expected. The guy that dropped out, didn't get voted to continue, made perfect sense. Kind of interesting how that resonated across everybody, the voters who participate, the 19% of registered voters who participate that understand that, oh, he doesn't want to be on the ballot anymore. We're not going to vote for him. Kind of interesting how that worked because just from talking to all the candidates, I was like, oh, Sam's a pretty good candidate. He's on some things in the school district, and he had some ideas. I kind of enjoyed what he had to talk about, and so if I was just voting, I might have given him a vote. But when he says he wants out, his Facebook page doesn't have the giant following. But voters kind of understood he's out, and they got the word, which is cool.
The word did get out. It's a nice reminder that voters do pay attention to the news. They do pay attention.
Just the ones that vote, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a nice reminder that the people who do turn out to vote are paying close attention to what's happening. And so, yeah, unsurprised. I was wondering about that too, right? Like, what would happen if he was in the top 6? And then advance to the April general election. But I know it. Voters clearly got the message. I mean, we know legally what would happen.
Oh, you do too? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he continued to stay on the ballot.
Exactly.
Even now, he could be on the school board if he would have continued, which is kind of interesting because then he has to manually resign, which I don't know. I think if he would have won both elections, the primary Tuesday and this upcoming one, and he got on the school board, I wonder if he would resign. I don't know if he would.
And, it was just too late to get off the ballot for the February primary. And indeed, many people had already voted, whether that was early voting or certainly voting by mail. So it does create challenges when candidates want to withdraw from the race late in the game. But a good indication here, again, of voters paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to what the candidates are saying, and being plugged in enough to understand when a candidate has indicated that they do not want to continue on in the race. And so that leaves the field of 6 for School Board of Lacrosse. And then, of course, we go from 4 candidates down to 2 for the mayor of Lacrosse.
Yeah, Shondell Washington Spivey and Chris Kalo are moving on. Chris Kalo, the city council president, Shondell Washington Spivey, former school board member, the director of the nonprofit called Black Leaders Acquiring Collective Knowledge, and had this conversation with a colleague of yours yesterday, John Kavari. What's on the ballot is we didn't really pose it. Looking back now, my jerk store reference is a Seinfeld reference for anyone. I should have started the show with what's on the ballot for the mayor's race, because city administrator, you might not even be voting for mayor at this point. You might just be voting for your issue, right? Like when federally, a lot of people vote abortion is the issue in one way or the other, and that's my one issue. I wonder, could we do a top three? Off the top of your head, you're not a La Crosse voter, so you might not be able to, but city administrator be top three.
Sure.
Maybe housing/homeless would be another thing that's on the ballot. What is this mayor's take on housing and homeless? But is that a productive, constructive way to vote for mayor? Because there's so many other things that happen within a city government.
Yeah, and I mean, especially because the role of a mayor could look very different depending on if there is or is not a city administrator. So one of the odd things about this upcoming mayoral race is that it's unclear what exactly the role of this mayor is going to be going forward. That makes this campaign a bit unusual because typically we don't have that uncertainty about what the mayor's powers or duties or responsibilities is going to be going forward. But it does mean that voters are going to have to take into account, I think, the city administrator debate as they consider these candidates. Because, again, from my understanding of where the candidates stand, from my observations of the things that have been said during the campaign trail, my sense is that Shondell Washington-Spivey is very much in favor of having a city administrator, and I have not heard that same level of support from Chris Kalo. I'm not sure that she's entirely for or against it. I don't think she said she's absolutely for a city administrator or absolutely against a city administrator, but there does seem to be a clear difference between these candidates, with Shondell Washington-Spivey being more vocally favorable towards the city administrator than Chris Kalo. And then you have to kind of look at other places for other differences. I mean, Rick,
is this your expertise? How about just this? In terms of city administrator, politically, you're running the mayor's campaign. Take a stance or don't take it, based on what La Crosse does historically voting-wise. They're left-leaning, right? I don't know if city administrator is left-leaning. It's bigger government, but it's more efficient, making government more efficient as well. But should a mayor candidate not take a stance, or is it better to take a stance one way or the other? If you were a political advisor, and you could say this wouldn't be my expertise, or you don't want to answer.
And Rick, first thing I would mention is that I think this issue does demonstrate the problematic nature of trying to think about a mayoral race in partisan terms, or trying to think about a mayoral race in liberal versus conservative terms. I'm not sure what the partisan view on city administrator is. I'm not sure if that's liberal or conservative. So I think...
Right, so throw that out.
I think to some extent, in fact, I would even say to a great extent, it's important for people to just throw out the partisanship, throw out the typical political labels that you use, and think about where these candidates stand on that issue.
Right.
And I think the voters, we're going to have to see the extent to which...
It's not even that the mayors are partisan one way or the other. Is a city
is the issue a partisan issue? I don't think it is.
Have we found a place in the world where we've found a thing that isn't partisan yet? Like, because what have we made partisan? We've made school board partisan.
State Supreme Court, for sure.
We've made really stupid things partisan. And I'm not going to be able to think of the very basic, everyday things.
Well, the two statewide nonpartisan elections, quote unquote nonpartisan, in April, the state Supreme Court and the state superintendent.
Issues. We've made cursive partisan.
Cursive is yes, right.
In Wisconsin, cursive is
a party line vote on cursive. Yep.
You know, guns are partisan.
Sure.
But there's dumber ones. Like guns is, abortion's partisan. But if you go down, cursive might be the dumbest one that's partisan. Because, right, Republicans in Wisconsin.
And, I mean, they would tell you, the Republicans and Democrats would tell you that it's really about, well, the Democrats would push back on that and say it's not cursive that's a partisan issue. It's local control versus state control. That's what the Democrats would say. People can agree or disagree with that. But yes, you are right, Rick. There was a party line vote on teaching cursive, and that vote was held in the state assembly this week.
Yeah. Joe Billings will be on with me next week in the morning. So I think on Tuesday, so we can ask her about her. Maybe we test her out to see how cursive
wouldn't
is.
that be a trip to have each legislator try to write in cursive and see how they do?
Yeah. Let's see, like R-I-C-K would be, I think I could do a K yet. Lowercase, yeah, I think I still got it. G's are tough.
Honest to God, I do not think I could pass a cursive test right now.
Is the A just a big A? Like not a triangle A, but is it just a big?
Not,
what's a cursive
it's not. It's like
A?
it's not a triangle A. It's like
it's just a big circle,
big oval.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's been for sure. Maybe we should be teaching cursive because you know what? I never use it ever. Also, ChatGPT, just tell me how to write cursive. Maybe one place where AI can't help you. Okay, back to the mayor's race. So the city administrator somehow is not. We can't attach it politically. John Kavari even yesterday, I believe, said city administrator is hated by all political parties. He was kind of joking, but it's like it's not a thing that you could make. Okay,
and
so
that means that people have to think critically about it. Put aside the labels, put aside the ideological catchphrases.
They have to learn about
it, think critically about it.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So it's on the ballot in a way that's just what these. Now let's relate this to the Supreme Court race. Even the last Supreme Court race, Janet Protasewicz took a stance on. Did she take a stance on abortion?
She did.
The 1800s, the 176-year-old.
So there she was walking a tightrope because she clearly indicated that she was someone who believes people should be able to have an abortion. However, as a judicial candidate, she could not specifically talk about the 1849 law with the expectation that the law would be challenged to the Wisconsin State Supreme Court.
Different here. Mayors can absolutely.
So how she walked that tightrope was talking about her values on the one hand and talking about general values without trying to get into specific cases that might be heard before the Supreme Court.
So do you want a mayor that's going to take a stance on city administrator, or do you want a mayor that's down the middle? Because I think that's where we're at right now.
Well, yeah, or someone who say, look, I don't have a position either way. If there is a city administrator, great. If there's not, great. That would be kind of a down the middle campaign.
Well, and we have a little bit of a different. The mayor, Chris Kalo is the city council president, so she actually was part of a vote to create a working group to study whether the city of La Crosse should have a mayor. So she kind of has an out on taking a stance. She wants to find out how the working group, and they kind of push that off till after the mayor's election, maybe by design, maybe that was, because you could have had the working group come out right now and say, this is what we found. Yes, city administrator, or no city administrator, or maybe the working group doesn't come to a conclusion like that. Maybe they just present the facts and let the council decide. You could have had that council decide now and then go into the mayor's race and then have the mayor decide after that or something. But that's not what we're doing. So that could have been by design too. But yeah, we have Chris Kalo, the city council president, is taking the down the middle approach where Shondell. But politically, is there a strategy there? Can you even come up with one? Because it's a weird carve out.
It is. I mean, and this is a unique issue in a local election because it is like a yes or no issue. Yeah. Like housing is not a yes or no issue. Listening to the candidates' responses, I included a question on a candidate survey about if they think there's a housing crisis in La Crosse, just because I thought it'd be interesting to give them a yes or no question on a housing issue. But by and large, like housing is not like a yes or no issue. Taxes are not like a yes or no issue in many ways. I mean, like business development is not like a yes or no issue. I think the city administrator is that unique campaign issue because it's like, do you want it or not?
You could be a yes, no there.
You could.
It would be weird if housing crisis is an interesting way to pose that. Is there a housing issue in La Crosse? And if the candidate said no, well, now you're okay. Well, then you're not fit to be running for mayor if you say La Crosse doesn't have a housing issue. All right, that was myself and UW La Crosse political science professor Dr. Anthony Chergosky talking about the mayor's race. When we come back, Jill Billings, the state assembly rep here in Wisconsin and District 95, which includes La Crosse. We're going to have a conversation with her next hour. Stay tuned. Midwest Family Entertainment.
We had Midwest Family Entertainment for our reception DJ. I emailed probably 5 different DJ companies and chose the one that was best fit for my wedding, which was Midwest Family Entertainment. It was very easy, very fun getting everything put together. We made a list of requested songs so that the DJ could play them all, and it got everybody on the dance floor. Everything went perfectly. You have to have a good DJ if you want to have a fun reception. My advice would be to call Midwest Family Entertainment.
MidwestFamilyEntertainment.com.
Let's do this. Let's go to Nashville. I'm Jean Taylor, and we're headed to Nashville. This trip is totally turnkey. No work at all for you, just fun. And lots of it. We head out on April 9th, returning on April 13th, and in between all the things Nashville. The Grand Ole Opry is celebrating its 100th year, so a great concert with great seats. All your tickets for all the entertainment, round-trip transportation, hotels, 8 meals, and of course the fun. Let's make some memories. Find out more, including full daily itineraries at wiscotrips.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
WISM, News Talk 1410, 92.3 FM, La Crosse. WISM News Time is 7 o'clock.
This is the CBS News World News Roundup, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Many federal employees woke up confused about just what happens next after Elon Musk demanded they justify their positions by midnight in writing or risk losing their jobs. Many have been showing up at town halls across the country, like this one in Missouri, where they confronted their Republican representative, Mark Alford.
Elon Musk has contracts with the federal government. But he is also, I think, doing an effective job.
Conflict of interest! Correspondent Weijia Jiang is at the White House.
Hours before the midnight deadline, Musk posted, subject to the discretion of the president, they will be given another chance. Failure to respond a second time will result in termination. Then came further guidance from the Office of Personnel Management, saying agency heads may exclude personnel from this expectation at their discretion.
President Trump met with French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House to talk about ending the war in Ukraine.
It's in the best interest of the United States, the best interest in Europe, the best interest of Ukraine, and indeed the best interest of Russia to stop the killing now.
The U.S. is at odds with France and European allies who blame Russia for the war. Yesterday, the U.S. voted against a UN resolution condemning Vladimir Putin's actions. Vivek Ramaswamy, who ditched the president's Department of Government Efficiency, has a new goal.
I am honored to announce my candidacy to serve as the next governor of the state of Ohio.
He launched his campaign in Cincinnati, promising work requirements for Medicaid. Pope Francis is still in critical condition, being treated for double pneumonia, but doctors say his kidney function is better. And today he was well enough to meet with the Vatican Secretary of State to approve new decrees for saints. Correspondent Seth Doan is in Rome.
The faithful are doing what their pontiff asked, to pray for him outside his Rome hospital and around the world. On St. Peter's Square Monday evening, a vigil was held not long after that latest medical report was released.
Apple shareholders are expected to vote against scrapping diversity programs when they meet today, bucking DEI trends at companies like Walmart and Amazon. A Chinese rovers found evidence of an ocean with sandy beaches on Mars. CBS's Michael Wallace.
Scientists pored over the ground imaging data the rover collected from the northern lowlands of Mars and found subsurface material that's tilted at the same angle Earth's beaches are tilted at, toward the ocean. They say there had to be tides and waves.
S&P futures are down 4. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers,
we've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, all natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better, and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, Get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available in both tablets and as a delicious gummy. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
A quick turnaround for terrified passengers that had just left the airport in Atlanta on a flight bound for South Carolina. WANF-TV's Chelsea Beimfor.
About 3 minutes after climbing into the air, Rossi says people started yelling.
And then people started kind of saying, smoke, fire, kept saying it. And then took a couple of minutes, probably about 2 minutes into that, we were still climbing up and it was getting worse. And the flight attendants came on and told us, breathe through your jackets or your shirts and just duck low. And that's what we did.
Delta Airlines says the flight crew followed procedures, declaring an emergency to get priority handling from air traffic control.
The plane returned to Hartfield-Jackson and everyone got off safely. She's been widely criticized for resurfaced social media posts taking aim at Muslims, George Floyd, and diversity. Bingo. Amelia Perez star Carla Sofia Gascon tells The Hollywood Reporter she will attend Sunday's Oscars. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777. 800-230...
LaCrosse's official forecast.
Mainly sunny skies today with highs around 47. Winds out of the west, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance for isolated showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 35. Overcast. Slight chance for isolated rain showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 45. Cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday. Low 50s Friday. Currently 28.
Medicare can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Inspire Medicare is a local family-owned agency who's been helping individuals navigate the complexities of insurance for nearly 40 years. Inspire Medicare offers personalized guidance and support, helping you find the plan that fits you. They will walk you through your options, answer your questions, and help you enroll with ease. Learn more at InspireMedicareLLC.com. Don't have Medicare stress you out. Let Inspire Medicare help.
We know you don't want to need us, but when you do, we're there.
Don and his daughter Amanda from Don's Towing and Auto Repair.
There's a big thing that I have come to terms with. I should have listened to my parents more. We service a lot of teenagers and college students in this community, and I notice a lot of the parents are calling, and they generally want to call because they want answers. What's wrong with their child's vehicle?
You get a lot of situations where people are not at their best. They're struggling from their car problems, and I always try to be positive.
People aren't always going to be in a good mood, but today we're going to be gracious and kind, and sometimes parents are right.
I have heard that, but I'm probably the one that said it.
Hope I never have to see you, but if I do, I'm AAA certified. Be sure to ask for Don's.
WisdomNews.com, I'm Brad Williams. A man and a juvenile female are dead after an apparent gas leak Sunday at a home in Monroe County near Oakdale. A caller to 911 reported possible multiple deaths and a strong odor of gas. The callers said they had pulled an unresponsive juvenile female from the home. Despite rescue efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Emergency workers shut off the gas and also found the body of a man, as well as a dog and cat inside. The source of the gas leak was found, according to the sheriff's office. No one hurt when an Onalaska man fired 3 rounds from a handgun in an apartment parking lot on Sunday morning. Kevin McDowell was taken into custody by Onalaska police after a caller to 911 said they heard gunfire and that a person in the parking lot was behaving erratically. No one was hurt by any of the shots. McDowell was arrested on charges including first-degree recklessly endangering safety and endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon. As of Monday afternoon, charges had not been filed yet in court against McDowell. An Onalaska man will be scheduled for trial on a fourth drunk driving charge. 44-year-old Pao Vang has entered a not guilty plea in connection with a hit-and-run accident this month on Highway 16 in Onalaska. Yang is accused of striking another vehicle on the highway while driving to a store. He was tested by police and had a blood alcohol level of 0.12. Yang's most recent OWI arrest before this was 3 years ago in La Crosse County. After a license revocation last week, bar owners in La Crosse have been warned to avoid serving alcohol to underage customers. The City Council's revocation of the Latino bar license came after more than 100 calls to police about problems at the Fifth Avenue Tavern. Councilmember Aaron Goggins says evidence presented during a hearing showed that the Latino was given chances to avoid punishment.
To give this business every chance to comply, and the business just chose to ignore those chances. And when we're talking about underage drinkers in La Crosse, sometimes we do have to step in and, watch out for kids that might not be watching out for themselves.
Goggins says she's never heard of another bar in La Crosse being given so many opportunities to avoid losing their license. The temperature has warmed up to the 50-degree range again in La Crosse. Monday's unofficial high in the city was 55 degrees, the warmest temp so far in February, passing Sunday's high of 43. But it's not the warmest weather of the new year. The mercury got up to 58 degrees on January 17th. Veteran outfielder Mark Canha has signed a minor league deal with the Brewers that includes an invitation to Major League Camp. The move continues the two-time defending NL Central champions' attempts to boost their depth after outfielder Blake Perkins fractured his right shin during batting practice. Canha previously joined the Brewers at the 2023 trade deadline. For Wisdom News, I'm Brad Williams.
It's where the people who make the news find out what's happening. Wisdom News at wisdomnews.com.
All right, welcome back to the Crosstalk. Good morning, La Crosse, or welcome to the Crosstalk, you 7 a.m. people. Jill Billings is the state rep in District 95. She's in studio with me. I learned now it's La Crosse County and Monroe County. Before I couldn't remember. I don't know which county is which way and which way your district goes now, but it goes east, right? It goes east-ish.
At the river.
Oh, wait. Okay. You know what we should do? We should plug your mic in. That would help. That would be an interesting conversation. There we go. Okay, now.
All right.
Go ahead. Now, what's your district?
So my district starts at the Mississippi River in kind of historic downtown La Crosse, and I've got majority of the north side, French Island, and then it shoots out across the county to Bangor, Rockland, out across the county border to Sparta, Cashton, even town of Leon. I've got about a dozen cities, towns, and villages now.
We were talking about the committees that you're on. This, what is it, a 2-year cycle? Is that how the committees work?
Yeah,
or is
this session, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your terms are 2 years. That's right. And one of them is now you're on the Ag Committee, which, have you ever been on that committee before?
No, when I first got elected 13 years ago, and you told me I'd be fighting to be on the Ag Committee, I would be very surprised. But things changed, and now I have this different district that includes farmland.
Yeah, was it because you have Monroe County, which is primarily farmland, I would say?
Sparta, no, not so much. I mean, Sparta is the urban center, the seat of the county. So the government center is there, and
it would be weird for you in your old district to be on the ag committee because you would be City of La Crosse, and
like I got a barn in my backyard, the old horse barn. I have one of the few barns in La Crosse, I think, still in my backyard, thanks to people who kept it. So there was not a big need for me to serve on the ag committee, but now that I have the beautiful rolling hill farms in Monroe County, I asked to be on either transportation, veterans, and ag, and I really wanted to be on ag. Travis Tranel from down Platteville in southwest Wisconsin, he's the chair. I get along with him really well, and a lot of the members. So I said, I think that's a good committee for me because I can have good conversations with people on the other side of the aisle on that committee.
Are you gonna take your barn and change it into a mother-in-law home? And what is it? ADU? Is that the term? Remember the city of La Crosse just were fighting to have ADUs. I kind of wonder how many ADUs have been built since that legislation passed in La Crosse, but
I do not plan on that. I don't think my mom wants to live in my barn in my backyard.
Live in the barn. My friend runs it's called the what is it called? Scrapping on the Ranch. She just converted a barn into a scrapbooking getaway for women. Hunters go there because it's out in Pickwick in Minnesota. But you just go and scrapbooking weekend. So she's got all this scrapbooking stuff. So
barn weddings are really big now too. That's part of agritourism in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean they do beautiful work with the barns too. Like they smooth out the floors and.
What's the big controversy with wedding barns? Is that still a controversy?
Liquor licenses. It's about liquor licenses.
We still fighting about that?
We came to some sort of an agreement, but that might come back this session again.
Okay. What? Just a big overview. What are some of the? And then we can dive into it after the break. But what are some of your priorities over the next 2 years?
Well, with a lot of them, the governor put in the budget, which I'm happy about. We can talk about the budget if you want. But I already have put out my human trafficking bill that says kids under 18 cannot be arrested for prostitution. This has come back several times. I've got my friend on the other side, Joel Kitchens. He's helping with that bill. And so we're cautiously optimistic that
How many years has it been?
Oh my gosh, it's been way too many years.
6?
Yeah,
more?
It's ridiculous. There's always a group that kind of raises its head and says, wait, are kids going to be safe if we don't? Do we have to arrest kids to keep them safe? Some of the law enforcement, different groups. And, that's with good intent, right? We have the same goal. We want to keep kids safe.
Yeah.
So then we, talked about how we've changed the rules so that children and family can take those kids in. And so we don't just put them back out in the community. They can be in shelters where they are protected from their traffickers. And so,
because if you is a prostitute, that's just rape. You're just raping that kid, right?
Absolutely. It's illegal to have sex with a child that young.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, we'll be working on that. Hopefully we'll be able to get that through.
What is the, well, I guess we could keep going because here I want to deep dive on it, but keep going.
Yeah.
What other things?
So I'll be working on that. PFAS is a huge issue. So I've met with folks out in French Island again to talk about how we want to address it this year. The governor addresses PFAS in his budget, but we might do some standalone legislation, especially around having access to the safe water fund, making sure that that's funded so people can still get water out on French Island through the DNR, and while they're working on their municipal system out there, because it's not going to come in right away. So. And so those are kind of right now some of my priorities with kind of standalone legislation outside of the budget, that human trafficking.
Yeah.
My vape stuff, my anti-vaping for kids stuff will come out later this year too. But right now, kind of all eyes are on the budget, what's going to happen with the budget.
All right, and we'll get into that as well with Jill Billings, State Assembly Rep in District 95. We're going to take a break. We'll be back.
I'm on the line with Kevin Carlson from Rural Mutual Insurance in Holmen. Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Ken.
I know it's tax season. What does that have to do with talking to you about insurance?
Well, Ken, And, with tax season upon us right now, generally a lot of people start looking at their finances. Are they on track with their strategy or their plan? It's a good opportunity to make insurance part of that financial plan. So whether we're talking about auto, home insurance, or life insurance, making sure your coverage is updated and you're prepared for anything that might come along in the new year.
To be prepared, that's really what it's all about, right?
It is. And again, I'm just telling people make insurance part of that financial plan.
How do we find you, Kevin?
You can reach me at 608-526-2426. I'm located in the post office building in Holmen.
And if we want to just Google Kevin Carlson, Rural Mutual Insurance, I bet we'll find you that way too, huh?
You sure will.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Attention business owners. Hello?
Ah, there we go. That's better. First impressions matter. With a fully lit dynamic sign, you'll turn passersby into loyal customers. It's your chance to make them stop, look, and walk through your doors. An electronic message center is more than just a sign. It turns your storefront into a showstopper. Bright, bold, and impossible to ignore. Call Three Rivers Sign today to make a lasting first impression. Three Rivers Sign. Your vision, we bring to light. We bring it to light.
Wisdom Weather is brought to you by Inspire Medicare.
La Crosse's official forecast.
Mainly sunny skies today with highs around 47. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance for isolated showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 35. Overcast. Slight chance for isolated rain showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 45. Cloudy skies expected. Low 40s Thursday. Low 50s Friday. Currently 28.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin was back on the floor for practice yesterday, prepping for a visit from Washington tonight. Last time we saw the Badgers, they were blowing a double-digit lead to Oregon in the final minutes on Saturday. It snapped a 5-game winning streak and left Wisconsin needing some help to claim even a share of the Big Ten title. Coach Greg Gard reflected on the game yesterday when he met with the media, and the theme, all about moving past what happened, but not forgetting why.
I think you got to take it for what it's worth. You can't choke on it, right? And you can't just not pay attention to it, right? We have to learn from it and understand how important being aggressive is for us. We're really good when we're aggressive. And for whatever reason, we didn't keep the throttle down like we should have.
Wisconsin comes into the game at 21-6 on the year, 11-5 in Big Ten play. The Huskies sitting in last place, but have won 2 of their last 4 games. And given the teams that they lost to in that stretch, all they could handle. Tip tonight is at 8. Turn to the Bucks. They're in Houston. It's where they're going to face the Rockets tonight. Milwaukee's won 4 in a row. Rockets have lost 7 of the last 10. Tip is at 7.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You're grateful for all the ways technology can connect us. Unfortunately, there are online scammers who want to take advantage. Malicious viruses, phishing scams, and identity theft are more prevalent than ever. That's why Rural Mutual includes cybersecurity protection as an option on every policy.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers going to be back at it this afternoon out in Arizona as they face the Guardians in Cactus League action. Milwaukee was a 12-8 loser to the Mariners yesterday. And the NFL Combine getting going in Indianapolis this week. 3 former Badgers, including safety Hunter Wohler, are there. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
All right, welcome back to the Crosstalk. I'm Rick Solem. In the studio with me, State Rep Jill Billings. Mentioned she's in her 13th year of doing this. How many years are you going to do this?
Oh, well, as long as I feel like I am making a difference and that I've got good energy and helping people, and then, it's like I say, every 2 years I decide if I want to do it again, and the voters decide if they want me. So I'm rehired every 2 years.
Do you ever have aspirations to go on in government? But like Tammy Baldwin ran, so you wouldn't do that. But something like that. If Tammy Baldwin didn't run, would you ever consider running for that seat like that?
I was asked to run for Congress last year by the DCCC, and that's like the the nationwide group that looks at Congress. And I said, no, thank you. It's an honor to be asked, but no. If
you don't want to live in D.C.?
No,
Or
and
what
dial
is it?
for dollars every night. And if I raise $5 million, I'm giving it to foster kids. I'm not putting it in a negative ads.
I always
just
said
said I'm not the person for you. I like the assembly too. I think because I come from a big family, so I like a lot of personalities. And I've been able to, find my friends that will help me with legislation, and I help them. There's trust built up with some Republicans and me, especially through like children and family. We're a very positively working committee where I know the chair well, and we like each other and trust each other. We've gone to conferences together to look at what we can do together for children in Wisconsin. And so I like that. I like being able to work together. So this assembly is my place where I feel like I can make a difference and help the people I represent. So I'm happy there. I don't have aspirations to be governor or senator there was one point where people thought I should be Secretary of Tourism. But I think we've got a good secretary in Ann Sayers.
Is that an elected position?
Nope, that's an appointed.
You
So you have to ask
bribe
them.
the governor.
Yeah, there were some people that sent in recommendations for me. And I said, well, that's very kind, but I didn't apply for that job because
Yeah.
I love the assembly.
Yeah. And you this is like stepping stones, right? You were on the county board. Were you on city council too? in
No.
La Crosse? Just county board.
Yep, I was on the county board, and which is good preparation for state
Is
government.
that enough preparation? What else would you need to do if you wanted to be a state legislator?
Well, I think you need to spend a lot of time in your district. You have to get to know your district well, be active in your hometown, and serving on a council or town board or county government is very helpful. I think all that's important. Just I think to do work where you look like a community leader or a community activist, where you care about your community, that's important.
What was year 1, Jill, like versus year 13?
Well, my first year was when in the recall election, Jen Schilling's seat opened up when she ran against Kapanke when he was recalled. So I was brought into the assembly like very few legislators are brought into the assembly. And it was a hard time. People were very angry at each other. The public it was a time of turmoil. Just
right after Act 10
right.
passed, right?
And so it was hard. My introduction to my training wasn't as good as what new legislators get now. But I had a really good staff person who had experience in the building. I knew I wanted someone with experience in the building, and I had great staff. And I just worked really hard every day.
Over that time, what's maybe like, I don't know why we're eulogizing your legislator, but like, what is the coolest thing or the thing you're proudest of that you got passed or something?
That first year? Well,
not the first year, but just in general.
The first year I think there were 2 Democratic bills that passed, and mine was one of them. And it was a scenic byways bill because people wanted that because of Granddad's Bluff. And it allowed people it was a simple bill, and it broadened the definition of a scenic byway. So it also included like county and town roads, and so you could get federal funding for those.
And hilly roads that wash out all the time.
Exactly. And so it was asked for by my district, and I worked really hard on talking with both sides of the aisle on it, and I got it passed. And that was pretty incredible and pretty lucky to get that passed.
2 Democratic
in 4
bills
months.
passed that year.
Yeah.
How many Democratic bills passed your last term?
Oh, I'm not sure. And a lot of those bills, Democrats give over to Republicans. Like my Safe Harbor bill, now the main author is Joel Kitchens. And I'm happy that I asked him if he would be my main author, because I was told in order to get it through, it had to have a Republican name first.
Right.
So I want to get that through. That's more important than my ego. So I set my ego aside and asked my friend Joel if he would help me, and he's been a great partner. He worked with me on the xylazine testing strip bill. He's worked with me on other things too. And Jesse James in the Senate's been really wonderful to work with, as is Brad Paff in the Senate too. I mean, I work with Democrats and Republicans.
Over 13 years, though, what's the proudest bill? Yeah.
It's hard to pick one.
You could even if you gave it to a Republican to have that pass.
Yeah.
Like, we take that caveat out of it.
I think it's hard to pick because this job is so many things. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, like, what do I feel good about in my job? Part of it is constituent work. Just, like during COVID, people couldn't get their unemployment benefits. And the work we did helping people get unemployment benefits. As I was cleaning out my office, I came across a letter a man sent me. He was from French Island. And he said, I was dipping into my retirement fund. My son and daughter moved back in with me. They lost their jobs during COVID. I've had to dip into my retirement to keep our household afloat. Can you help them with their unemployment benefits? Because there's a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And he said, thank you. You don't know what this means to my family and our future, and just to get us through this COVID hump. And, we're voters of yours for life.
Yeah.
That was a really nice letter.
Well, and part of that, at that time, the unemployment system needed to be updated, right? Wasn't that kind of a fight?
Yes, it was COBOL.
Did we update that?
Yes, but the thing is, there are all sorts of, if we want to look at efficiencies in government, there are all sorts of data systems that are still using COBOL. I was talking to the child support workers, so they work through the county.
COBOL, which is what Social Security uses,
that was
right?
like when I was in high school, they were teaching COBOL.
Yeah.
That was way back, and it's clunky. It breaks down more. It's slower to use. And they were talking about their system that they have to use to keep track of people. And it's kind of wild. I think if we were doing efficiencies, it'd be smart to invest in things like that for the future.
In high school in the 90s?
When I was in high school? Oh, no, I was before the 90s.
Before the 90s?
Yeah,
Okay,
I was before the 90s.
I was late 90s, so I was thinking you can't be, no. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. As I See It with Kevin Millard coming up. We'll be back and continue this conversation with State Rep Jill Billings.
Let's do this. Let's go to Nashville. I'm Jean Taylor, and we're headed to Nashville. This trip is totally turnkey. No work at all for you, just fun. And lots of it. We head out on April 9th, returning on April 13th, and in between all the things Nashville. The Grand Ole Opry is celebrating its 100th year, so a great concert with great seats. General Jackson Showboat Cruise, including food and entertainment. A tour of all of Nashville's major sites, okay? Music Row, recording studios. We'll do some line dancing, the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Walk of Fame, and more. Plus, you'll get to experience downtown Nashville. Listen to bands, do some shopping. Trip includes all your tickets for all the entertainment, round-trip transportation, hotels, 8 meals, and of course the fun. I'm taking my girls. Grab your friends, family, and join us. Find out more at wiscotrips.com. We're going to Nashville. Spring break in the Music City. Now, doesn't that sound nice? Let's make some memories. Find out more, including full daily itineraries, at wiscotrips.com.
And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, Arch Support Specialist at the Good Feet store.
He came in and he wanted to be able to keep up, play sports with his kids. From there, we figure out which arch supports complement those activities. I fit him with the arch supports, and as I followed up with him, he's messaged me and said, I took my kids to the park today. We're walking, we're exercising, riding the bikes, and those are all things that he wasn't doing before because he was in pain.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store's arch support specialists have been helping folks to live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. That's what's most important, is knowing that you leave an impact on someone's life. And I like that.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free personalized fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit us at 40 Copeland Avenue in La Crosse, at 2909 Mall Drive in Eau Claire, and at goodfeet.com.
As I see it, over the past weekend, federal employees got an email that told them to reply with 5 things they accomplished at work last week. If they didn't reply, Elon Musk said it would be taken as a sign of resignation from their job. The email generated a lot of buzz both for and against it. Pushback is happening on both sides, too, with more lawsuits bound to follow. My take is this. Isn't this done in one form or another already? If this is allowed to go through, who's going to read these millions of replies? Do we really need another government organization created to check that each person responded accurately? And who would monitor the new organization to make sure that they're doing their jobs? Isn't this the type of bureaucratic boondoggle that the current administration is being so vocal about getting rid of? While fighting waste in government is something we should all be concerned about, having people spend part of their time writing what is essentially a pointless email won't solve the problem. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to finish my TPS report to the boss. As I see it, I'm Kevin Millard.
LaCrosse's source for news and information. WIZM is WIZM. La Crosse, News Talk 1410 AM, 92.3 FM.
CBS News Brief, a reprieve for government workers who were on orders from Elon Musk to come up with a list of last week's accomplishments by midnight or lose their jobs. CBS's Weijia Jiang at the White House.
With just hours to go, Musk backtracked, telling staffers they now have more time. His moves are not only causing confusion, but anger.
3 years after Russia invaded Ukraine, the U.S. voted on a UN resolution to take a neutral stance on the war. It voted against others, blaming Moscow for starting it. U.S. Deputy Ambassador Dorothy Shea.
This resolution puts us on the path to peace. It is a first step, but a crucial one.
Pope Francis remains in critical condition but was well enough to meet with Vatican officials today to approve new decrees for saints. The 88-year-old's chances of recovery? CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook.
It depends what you mean by recover. I mean, he has underlying lung problems that he will have for the rest of his life.
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
At Benedictine Living Community La Crosse, we can be a resource for you. We'll guide you every step of the way. I love working at Benedictine Living Community because it's all about you and what you specifically need. And the people you love can feel good and have a peace of mind knowing you're well cared for.
Schedule a tour at blclacrosse.org.
My name is Lori. I'd love it if you come see me at Benedictine Living Community La Crosse.
At Solem's Carpetland, your family comes first. We're more than just a flooring store. We're your partners in creating a home that lasts a lifetime. Discover a world of comfort and durability with our huge selection. Whether it's cozy carpeting for your living room, timeless hardwood for a classic touch, or versatile tiles that stand up to the hustle and bustle of family life. Solem's Carpetland in Coon Valley. Our number one priority is you. Stop in today.
WIZM News is brought to you by Emerge 360.
For WIZMnews.com, I'm Brad Williams. 2 people are dead in an apparent gas leak at a home near Oakdale in Monroe County. The sheriff's office said a caller reported possible multiple deaths and the leak at a home on Hobby Road. The caller said they'd gone to the home because they hadn't heard from the residents. They found an unresponsive juvenile female and pulled her from the home. Life-saving efforts weren't successful. Once emergency crews turned the gas off, the bodies of a man, a dog, and cat were found in the home. No charges have been filed yet in Trempealeau County Court against an Illinois man arrested after a weekend crash. Darnell Davis of South Elgin, Illinois, allegedly crashed into a parked truck after being pursued by a sheriff's deputy in Osseo on Friday night. Davis had been seen speeding on I-94 before he left the interstate and drove into Osseo. A firearm was found in Davis's vehicle after the accident. An Onalaska man is in custody after an incident on Sunday morning where police said he fired a handgun in an apartment building parking lot. A 911 caller said they could hear gunfire and that a person in the parking lot was acting erratically. Officers arrested Kevin McDowell. They found out that he had fired 3 rounds from a handgun. No one was hurt from the gunfire. A 19-year-old man is charged with second-degree sexual assault after an alleged incident at a UWL residence hall. Logan Zanowitz has been accused of having intercourse with a young woman while she was under the influence and could not give consent. Police say Zanowitz and the woman had been at a bar with friends and then went to a house party before returning to campus. The alleged victim of the assault says she thinks she may have been drugged and was unable to fight back. Zanowitz was given a signature bond and is scheduled to return to court next week. There is hope among La Crosse city leaders that the recent vote to suspend a tavern license will be an example to businesses in the city. By a unanimous vote last week, the city council took away the license of the Latino bar on 5th Avenue, following numerous complaints of underage drinking and police calls to the business. Councilmember Aaron Goggin made the motion to revoke the bar's license.
We do need to look at the culture, the drinking culture in La Crosse, and we need to work as several different bodies to try to fix that reputation.
La Crosse police claim the Latino bar did not help reduce the number of underage customers, but the business owners have disputed that. La Crosse's Park and Rec Department is asking people to be careful using the many trails around the city due to the weather. Sammy Meyer, the outdoor recreation director, said that as temperatures warm up during the day, then drop below freezing at night, it can cause damage to the trails and also causes erosion issues. She suggests that if you're on an unpaved trail and you're leaving footprints or tire tracks, you should avoid the trail. Instead, Meyer said stay on sidewalks or paved trails until the ground firms up again. For WISM News, I'm Brad Williams.
The issues that are important to you. WISM News and WISMnews.com. Covering the stories that are important to the La Crosse area.
Good morning, La Crosse. Welcome back to La Crosse Talk. I'm Rick Solem. In the studio with me, Jill Billings, State Rep, District 95. And we were kind of reminiscing a little bit. Oh, Jill, what was your favorite bill to pass? And her first ever bill. And she's been in the Assembly for 13 years. And we're not going to talk about what year she graduated high school. But she was kind of ripping on some of the state's computer systems using COBOL, which I don't even know what that is. But I understand some of the fight over Social Security. Like there's all these 150-year-olds getting Social Security because the default for COBOL, I think it's using the same system,
right,
is just to zero out your birth date because the birth date happened before, I don't know, it's some numerical computer techie thing, and it just makes you, because Social Security is 150 years old, so it just zeroes your birthday. So, but some of these state systems are doing the same thing. And I feel like a few years ago, you guys were going through old state laws and trying to update them because they're way out of whack. But now you almost have to spend some money and do this with some systems, right?
Yeah, and
such as unemployment.
Well, yes,
which you did.
And we have updated that system.
What's that one on now? Windows 95?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But there's still systems upgrades that are needed, and so I think that our surplus, that would be a good use for our surplus, right? Because that would be a one-time investment that would pay off in the future.
Well, Evers in his budget has proposed a tax. Well, that's not a tax cut, right? Like it's the opposite. He's going a different way in his budget with taxes, right?
Well, he has some tax cuts but it's for working families, for people who don't make a ton of money, as opposed on the federal level where they want to give tax cuts for people making over $400,000. He's looking at working families with his tax cuts. So he does include tax cuts in his budget.
And then there's a tax increase for anyone that makes over $1 million, right?
Oh, that
like a 2%.
Might be that might be that there was another, I think, bracket created.
Yep.
I haven't totally studied that part of the budget because it's been a busy week this last week.
Because you don't make over $1 million and you don't care. No, but I think it's 7% for people over this amount of money, and then he's going to add, if you make over $1 million, it's going to be 9%. Yeah. So that's the addition there.
Okay.
Now you know.
That could be. Thank you. Yeah. That's part of what we're doing this week in Madison is looking through the budget. We've done a sort of a shallow dive right now to look at some of the things that I asked the governor for in my meeting with him before the budget. I asked him if he would include certain things in the budget. I was happy to see that he included
what are those
several
things?
of those. Oh, I had a lot of asks. So I had a bill that was the Mississippi River Erosion Control revolving loan program. So damage that's done because of our extreme flooding. And there's something similar for the Great Lakes area that a friend of mine, I think Tip McGuire's working on that over in the Great Lakes. And so that's money for a revolving loan program, and he included that in his budget. That will help those of us who live here along the Mississippi River. The postpartum Medicaid expansion bill, which says that a woman postpartum can be covered by Medicaid for 12 months instead of just 60 days as we do now. I think every single state in the union covers women for 12 months. When you think about recovering from pregnancies and complications that could happen, 60 days is just not enough time. And there's general agreement nationwide on that. So that's not a huge ask. My friend Pat Snyder on the other side of the aisle actually has that legislation. And
has that ever been proposed before?
Yes.
It seems kind of obvious, right? Like kind of an obvious one.
Yeah, I was a co-author with Deb Kolste. It was originally a Democratic bill, but it's got 90 co-sponsors out of how many of us? 132 in the Senate and Assembly. There are 90 of us who are Democrats and Republicans.
So you're saying 49 states have this and only one state doesn't?
Right. Wisconsin does not. So
is there any worry there? Well, if you're talking about Medicaid, like just Medicaid funding getting cut, like
yeah, well,
think about that
there is a lot of uncertainty out there, but
I had Jane Claycamp on yesterday, and she's like, our nursing homes are going to be devastated if that Medicaid funding is cut.
Right. So we have to see. But
talk about
if we
budget
have it,
surplus, or
if we have the opportunity to get something like that done, and the governor, it's interesting in his budget address, he did talk about leaving $500 million in the checkbook because there is uncertainty about what's happening on the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
So he kept money back in case we have to address. I mean, we won't be able to address
without
everything that's
right?
done. Yeah, without specifics. We won't be able to address everything that's eventually done by the federal government, probably, but maybe some things that we feel are really important in Wisconsin.
It's like an extra rainy day fund.
Yeah,
like maybe a snow day fund or something like that. It's funny too because when you talk about like would Democrats and Republicans in the legislature ever be able to agree on something? If this got cut because the federal funding isn't coming through anymore, now we have to pay for it. Governor Evers set aside $500 million because you set aside $125 million for PFAS the last 2 years, and you never did anything with it, right? Like because the governor and the legislature and the Republicans in the legislature couldn't agree on a PFAS bill, right?
Right. But again, I've had conversations about PFAS since my first week in office.
Yeah.
With people on the other side of the aisle, because I think we've got to sit down and come to some kind of an agreement.
So there's two issues here, I think. You have to PFAS, like the people on French Island have wells that are contaminated with PFAS. So you have to address something like that. But the other half of this is we have to get PFAS out of the environment. Is there any talk about like we got to ban PFAS from, being in wrapping in fast food wrappers and on non-stick pans and get it out of the environment so that it doesn't continue?
There is talk about that. In fact, we have legislation about that. And Minnesota's already passed legislation. Yeah. And a lot of consumers actually, a lot of businesses are going down that route. They're getting rid of the PFAS in food packaging because they realize it's not a good idea. People don't like it. Their consumers don't like it, right?
Right.
A lot of people aren't using those stickless pans anymore. There's
rice in the pan on my stove right now because I don't use the non-stick
pans,
there you
go.
Teflon pan.
Yeah, so a lot of people are choosing not to use that, especially people with kids in their households.
Yeah.
And the consumers are kind of pushing businesses that way anyway to get rid of that stuff. So we've got legislation that helps with people who have to take action because of their wells. We give some relief to those people who have to replace wells or like French Island, get a new system in. Mm-hmm. Safe drinking water. We want people to have safe drinking water. Part of it is setting standards for the future. So when we map what's going on all around the state, so we know where the PFAS are. Part of it is basically leaving innocent landowners harmless. So farmers that may have spread some PFAS on their fields.
Right. Well, that was the
manure.
That was the argument last time, right? That was why the $125 million didn't get. I feel like you could have just axed that part out of just made an amendment to.
Well, the DNR sent out a memorandum saying we are not going after farmers, innocent farmers who have spread PFAS on their field unknowingly.
So is that set in stone? If the DNR does that, is it set in stone and they can't and won't do it?
Right. Now it's included in our legislation.
The city of La Crosse has a wastewater treatment plant, and then that sludge, what that sludge is, they send that to farms, and those farmers, maybe we should get the PFAS out of the sludge that we're putting on farm fields.
Yeah, part of this bill encourages that too. It encourages that. So it's multi-pronged, right? So we have to, like you said, we have to get the PFAS out of the environment.
Right.
But we also have to, at the same time, give relief to people who are already suffering.
Yeah.
Like the people out on French Island.
Yeah, it's multifaceted.
PFAS. Right.
Anything else in the budget that you snuck into Evers' budget?
I asked for some money for the arts. Look, Wisconsin also is dead last in funding of the arts. Some of this is embarrassing. Like we're below Mississippi and Alabama in funding for the arts.
I don't know why you're going after those two states. So we're dead last in postpartum Medicaid funding.
Yeah.
And then we're third to last, and we're last. Are we last?
For the arts, yes.
Oh my God!
So, and we have a system set up for an endowment. So, I think this would be a good time with our surplus to along with the tax relief for people, also investing in some things that make our communities wonderful places to live, things like the arts, right? So if we start an endowment fund now, then we can, have dividends off of that going forward.
What is an example of that? If that legislation passed and there was, we could take advantage of it, what would, in La Crosse, like what could somebody do to take advantage of that?
Well, it depends on how the arts community, I think the arts community has to kind of set it up. So it would have to be statewide, I think. In my mind, it has to be statewide. Can't just be like Madison, Milwaukee centered. It has to be statewide. Things like maybe grants for things like our symphony. We have a fabulous symphony here in La Crosse. Public radio is doing public TV is going to come to I think it's our upcoming concert in March and record it because they looked at symphonies around the state of Wisconsin and ours stood out. So that's absolutely fabulous.
So
we should fund that. Theaters. Maybe stuff with kids in the arts. So there's a lot out there that could be done, but we have to fund it just to give some help.
We're going to take a break and wrap up with State Rep Jill Billings in a minute.
I'm Rick Teska, the owner of Strive Medicare.
I'm Cullen Teska, an agent at Strive Medicare, and I'm here to talk about the open enrollment period for Medicare Advantage plans and how people who are on Medicare Advantage plans still have an opportunity to make a change for 2025. Right now, January to March. It's an opportunity for you if you made what you feel like is the wrong choice, or if you missed the window in the fall to make a change and now you feel stuck, or you feel lost, or you feel frustrated with the plan you chose. You can change now during this time to a new Medicare Advantage plan. This open enrollment period, you have until the end of March to make a plan change if you'd like. All of our services are free, which is surprising. People are always shocked. You can do it, and it's free, and we're here to help.
Strive Medicare, making Medicare simple.
Wisdom Sports is brought to you by Floor Crafters.
Admit all the clutter. You never know what you'll find. That's what's buried on Brad's desk. Here's WIZM's Brad Williams.
Stories in the news and items on the internet are taking me back to the 70s. Singer Roberta Flack has died, and the 1970s were a big decade for her. Flack had hits that won Grammys for Record of the Year 2 years in a row. The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face and Killing Me Softly with his song. The First Time Ever didn't become a hit until Clint Eastwood used it in his movie Play Misty for Me. Flack went on to have many more hits well into the 80s. Elton John was becoming a big music star at the same time as Roberta Flack was winning Grammys. The internet tells me that Elton's hit from 1973, Crocodile Rock, is one that he hates, and he said he wrote it mainly as an imitation of a different song. Well, it was pretty popular in the early 70s when nostalgia for the 50s was at its peak. The story I saw online says Crocodile Rock accidentally became Elton's first #1 in the U.S. How is that an accident? Just because the writer didn't think it would be a hit. The same year Killing Me Softly won the Grammy, a tightrope walker pulled a daring stunt high above New York City. Philip Petit managed to connect the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center by a wire and walked across that wire 1,300 feet above the ground in 1974. Photos of Petit's walk just turned up on Facebook, and wouldn't you know it, some commenters think it's fake news, phony pictures. They don't believe anybody really did that. Don't we believe anything these days? Petit's walk might have been the second biggest news story of that week. It happened the day before President Nixon announced he would resign. If you want to study 70s nostalgia, look up that Twin Towers walk, maybe while you listen to Roberta Flack or Crocodile Rock. I'm Brad Williams.
I'm Brandon Matheson with Culligan and La Crosse. I'm the general manager.
And I'm Jim from Sign Pro.
I've been with Culligan for 29 years, and we've been using them for
a long time.
Yeah, 20 years, I think. It's so important to build good relationships with vendors and customers.
Yeah, once you develop a relationship, it makes the whole process more streamlined. Most of what we do at Culligan is vehicle graphics.
Culligan corporate rebranded and changed the font. I'm terrible at explaining things, and when I called Jim or Dan, they were really good at taking what was in my head and putting it on the trucks. It was amazing. we found Sign Pro, and I've never thought about going anywhere else.
Brandon, we've been working together for a long time. Thanks for being on our commercial.
I just wanted to point out how great Dan and Jim are. Dan maybe more than Jim.
True.
Go to a pro. Sign Pro. Call 782-3456.
All right, welcome back to Lacrosse Talk. Just going to wrap up here with State Rep Jill Billings. Just want to, we got to address the right-wing outrage over Governor Evers putting in the budget, the terminology he's changed in the section of in the governor's budget, his version anyway, covering artificial insemination. He changed the phrase "the husband of the mother." He changed that to "the spouse of the inseminated person." And so Republicans take that and go, "Oh, you've replaced mother with inseminated person." And just woke and DEI and and then communism, socialism, just throw all the terms at it. But why did he do that?
Well, I think this is just sort of manufactured outrage on the side of Republicans, and I think this is for political purposes that they're so upset about all of this. And because if you read the budget, if you actually read the budget summary. And if people want to do this, I can even tell them it's on page 1766 and 1767 under section 891.4, paragraph 1, paragraph A, or parentheses 1, parentheses A, sorry. It talks about in cases of artificial insemination, who is the parent of that child? And so it clarifies that if there's a husband and wife and they can't have a child sort of in the more mainstream way and they want to go for artificial insemination, then if the father agrees to it, then he is considered the father of the child, right? So, and has all the responsibilities of the father of the child, okay? Right. So can't 10 years turn around and go, oh, that's not really my child. It's an artificial insemination. Yeah. So it's there, the laws there to sort of protect the family.
DNA-wise, it's not his kid. But
so that's the background there. Now, women can get married. So we could have a woman married to a woman. And so it defines that there's one woman that's the inseminated person, and then the other woman is the spouse. So if the other woman, the spouse, agrees to the artificial insemination, then that other woman is considered the mother of the child. Those three are the family unit, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually. And so it was a clarification thing talking about the inseminated person as opposed to the person who's not getting the insemination procedure. Yeah. The governor, look under the dictionary for apple pie or cheese curds, and you see a picture of Governor Evers. Come on. The Governor Evers is not going to get rid of the word mother. That's just absolute silliness. And so I also want people to know that in the same budget, the word inseminated person is used 2 times and the word mother is used 38 times. So clearly the governor and his team and Democrats acknowledge mothers are mothers. Right? Yeah. So this is just, I think, for political purposes, because how do I know that? Because yesterday evening, I saw an ad that said, Governor Evers is taking away motherhood and people are going to be inseminated persons. They're already using this as a political ad in the Supreme Court race, right? Yeah. So clearly this outrage, this manufactured outrage is for political purposes. The other thing is in 2 years, we're going to have a governor's race. Now, I don't know if Governor Evers is running and Republicans don't know, but they're a little worried about it because his approval ratings are pretty decent for a politician, right? Mm-hmm. So they're already looking at ways they can ding Governor Evers. You're going to see a lot of this in the next 2 years. And it's just ridiculous because there are a lot of good things in the budget that help women, that help children, some that I asked for, and the governor included. But we're talking about this stupid phrase, inseminated person, and not talking about all the good things that are in the budget, like home visiting. We know that if we have professionals come in, a social worker or a public health nurse, and work with sort of fragile families, right? In the early years, we save money down the line on incarceration and mental health and substance abuse if we can create healthy families early on. Now that's a thing. They're helping moms be good moms. We're not but Republicans aren't talking about that. They're talking about this stupid term that appears twice in the budget in order to provide legal understanding of what's happening in those situations of artificial insemination.
Right.
And
it's the outrage machine that I
manufactured
talked about
outrage.
earlier in the show. Manufactured outrage for something that's more of a legality.
Yeah. So if people don't believe me, look it up yourselves. It's in the budget. I gave you the page numbers.
Page 1700. All right. We're out of time, Jill. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
The 15th annual Oneota Film Festival is happening March